Alright, so guys, basically my plan, because I want to test the spark plugs and how they affect the car, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the car up onto the road up here somewhere, and then I'm just going to go up there, probably from maybe the fire hydrant, something, or I'll figure it out when I'm up there, just to test the speed and what an area, what it feels like, and I'll give like a number score. The car, I think, is probably like maybe a 5 right now. That's what it feels like. But I don't know, I haven't really driven it yet today. So we're going to figure this out. I'm going to do a marker. I think I'm going to start at the bottom of the hill and then check my speed at this tree. That's what we'll do. So you see the tree there? I don't know if I'm pointing at it. Right there. I'm going to go from the bottom of the hill up to that tree, and then I'm going to see how fast I'm going at that tree. And I'll use that as a speed identifier along with how the car feels, and I will come back to you after that. So I'm going to set the camera up and I'm going to go drive the car. So I'm going to do 2 runs, and I'll get the best speed of the 2 runs as soon as I pass the tree from the bottom of the hill, which I might be going pretty quick. We'll see. You guys are right on my mailbox, so you guys can kind of see as I come up, and we'll see what speeds I get and how the car really feels, because I know it feels a little laggy right now. I'm going to put it in power mode especially, so let's see how it reacts. So right now, a school bus just went by, so I'm going to give it a little bit of time before I do another run, just so then people can get out of the way, and then I'll go and do my second run. So this is actually pretty fun. I haven't driven the car this often. So basically I changed the test. Right at the end of that fence I hit 40 on the hill, so I'm going to use that as my benchmark of what speed I hit when I'm going past that fence. Just because if I kept going, I probably would have hit like 60s, almost 80, which is kind of excessive for a neighborhood. So at the end of the fence I was hitting 40. So I'm going to do it again, see exactly what speed I get when I hit the end of the fence, and then I'll record that as well. So going past the fence, this time I hit 45 roughly. I probably should have installed some kind of more scientific speed measurement, but I didn't. So basically, now we know our baseline, which is 45 at the end of the fence, just to see if we get any kind of speed-wise performance upgrade from these. It didn't feel like a 5. It actually feels slower than usual. It felt like a 4, I would say, out of 10, which is not that great. It feels very slouchy. It doesn't feel as powerful as it used to. The engine isn't fully warmed up, so that could be also the culprit. But even so, I've driven this on a cold engine before, and it just feels weak. And it really needs an upgrade. So right now, I took my strut tower bar off, which is right here. It was going across, blocking all of this. So this is gone. And I took off my air intake, so I could reach this side where the spark plug holes are. And then I just took out my coil pack, which was 1 bolt. Now I have to reach in there and get the old spark plug out without damaging anything. And that's deep in there. So here I have our little magic spark plug. These are plasma core spark plugs, and how they work is they turn the gas surrounding the spark plug into plasma, which is matter loaded with energy, and then that ignites the rest of the gasoline, making a cleaner and faster burn. So I'm going to try and get the spark plug out now. So I'm too lazy to move the camera, but I'm not an expert on spark plugs, but this doesn't look too healthy. The whole thing looks really burnt, and even the ceramic is burnt. Like, if you guys can see. I don't think that looks very good. That looks quite horrible. So I'm just going to compare this next to the other one, make sure they're exactly the same. So I don't entirely trust how I ordered them, because they said it didn't work for the 2007, but it looked for 2012 2IS, which I feel like is a lie. I feel like they just didn't want to add in older cars, and they messed up because I've heard they've done that before. It does match the same threading on the listing as 2007 for this 2012. And everything is identical, so I don't see why it wouldn't fit 2007, but we're going to work together and find that out. And apparently it's the busy hour because there's a school bus, then a bunch of kids running by, and now the mail's coming. So just to compare, we have our pretty new Pulstar plasma core, which I don't want to drop because they say if you drop these, they're screwed. And then we have our Denso Iridium, which has thicker ceramic. I can't wait to put the Pulstars in because these just look old and tired. Even the ceramic's burnt, and I don't think that's a good thing. I don't know where any dielectric grease is, so I don't know if I can put any on here or anything like that, because I know they said when you change spark plugs you should put dielectric grease on this end. But how greasy this feels, I think there's probably plenty. There's a shit ton of this, and my hands are all greasy now. But I'm not touching the tip because I don't know if that bothers things. Okay.
I don't want to let you down. What am I supposed to do? It's been 3 weeks at least now since I've been gone, and I don't even like the road. Focus on the radio, and I'm not gonna tell you that I'm over it, cause I think about it every night. I'm not sober. I know I keep these feelings to myself, but I don't need nobody else. But you're not the only one on my mind. If I'm being honest, I should be honest.
I really want to get this done for daylight. This is horrible. Taking off this intake manifold for the first time is awful. It sucks. I wish I had a cool one to put back on, then this wouldn't be so bad, but unfortunately I don't, so. There's so many bolts! That was a stupid amount of work. But now I have access to the last 3 coil packs.
Sometimes we forget why we're here. It's easy to fall off track. These help us remember.
These battle scars don't look like they're faded. Don't look like they're...
Okay, all the new spark plugs are in now. I just need to put the engine back together. Because I have to take apart the whole goddamn top of the engine to get the fucking spark plugs. I'm tired. It's getting dark. I'll need flashlights soon. I'm not gonna be able to really test it tonight. I'll just get it to turn over. That's about it. This is gonna... I'm not happy. I'll be happy tomorrow, though. I'll be very, very happy if it runs right. Because one of the issues with Pulstar plugs is they said sometimes they send bad ones that don't work. So if one of these doesn't work, hopefully it's on the passenger side. If it's not, then fuck me!
And that's the reason I'm staying up late, trying to find a way to escape the stereotypes. This day and age is making me feel like the only way I'll be happy is getting signed to a label and making money through rapping. I wanna share my emotion because this world is attacking the very principle of life that lets the people be happy. If you don't have a reason to breathe, why even live? These battle scars are impressions of everything that it is.
Don't look like they're faded. Don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded. Don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Now if I had a voice that reached 100 million people, I'd tell them there's a reason
So
that we're
everything
all
looks
created
good.
equal. 'Cause
Now
some
it's time to try and start the
decide
car.
to break,
I know it's
and some
dark
decide
and the
to
camera
an
might
average
actually
person's
stop,
life
so I
is
might have to
simply
switch
what
to my
they wanna
phone.
be.
We'll
So
see.
you make the decision, all I know is what I'm given. Won't define the life I lead or the way I dwell in existence. I've seen a greater
It does have some backfires and burbles still, but they're not overly excessive. I'm gonna let it run for a little bit, see how everything changes, how it runs, what happens. The engine light is off now, but I think that's just because the battery's been disconnected for so long. We'll see if the engine light comes back on after I change the spark plugs. It didn't necessarily say misfire, but I did get 4 or 5 of those in the past year. So, and they have been bad spark plugs, and one of them was wet. The other ones are dry, and they seem to be fine, just need to be regapped, but we'll see. So I'm gonna let it run for a bit, and then I'll grab another battery, camera, whatever. Camera, battery, I'm so tired right now, so you guys can see. So the good news is, this is the next day. Spark plugs are in, the car runs amazing. I took it for a drive last night, but I didn't record any of it, just because I wanted you guys to have my good reaction to it, and not an over-exaggerated one. So I took that drive last night to try and get acquainted with the new spark plugs, so I can give a more even review of them, because I was ecstatic last night. And I noticed today, because I drove the car again today, this wheel's really dirty already. And the reason why is because that caliper is stuck. Now, I replaced the caliper on the other side because it got stuck. Now this one's stuck. So, I might just switch to full 350 calipers, since, I mean, I might as well, since I want to replace the front ones with 350s, and the back one, since that one's bad, I might as well just get rid of the other one on the other side and just replace everything at once, and that probably will be what I'm doing. But I need to set up the GoPro. I'm going to try and set that up on the inside of the car, make sure it works, and I'm going to set up this camera in the same spot. Set up in the car. That's awesome that it's working, especially. Oh, by the way, guys, I got 25 MPG driving around. I normally get 12. But anyway, let's get the car up on the hill. Alright, hopefully I don't chicken out, because last night I chickened out a few times. Alright, 3, 2, 1, go! Now, with both runs on original and now, the engine was not fully warmed up. Probably not the best thing to do, but I did that last time, so I'm going to do it this time as well. So, second run in 3, 2, 1. Does it improve in performance? Yeah. I hit 50 chickening out like a little bit because just the power. I think the first run, the reason why I only got 45 was because I kept slipping and I got a traction control light. This run I didn't slip at all and it just fucking flew. The power is so much better. And keep in mind, I had bad spark plugs, like really bad spark plugs before. So now the power is definitely changed. It's smoother. The engine is just so much smoother and the power just feels there. Before, when I drove the car on the highway, like I did today, I would feel like there was no power in the mid-range of the RPMs. I was driving on the highway, I'd put my foot down and nothing would happen. It would just be foot down going, But now the car has a whole new life to it, let's say. When I put my foot down, it goes. It has that power that was missing before, and it's something really good. Wow, mirror. God. Anyway, the power is there. It's really weird to have it because I never had the power when I had the car. I'm assuming those spark plugs were really, really old and were way out of shape. But now it's amazing. So I will do a long-term review eventually of when these spark plugs are older. Like I said, right now, actually I'm going to put that in the car. I have 112,276 miles. I had 112,211 when I put them in. So here, I'm going to put it in the car so I remember that, because this car has a maintenance setup. Okay, so I have it set up for 40,000 miles in my car's computer. So at 40,000 miles, it'll tell me to check it. That's how long it's supposed to last. That way I can keep track of how many miles have passed and how many miles are left if they die early. I think they might last because with the Pulstar plugs, you gotta remember they're very, very fragile. They're not your average spark plug. Because of the large capacitor inside, it makes it very thin ceramic on the outside, so even just dropping them ruins it. So I made sure that all mine were perfect. None of them were chipped, cracked, or anything like that before I installed them. I made sure they were gapped perfectly before installing, so they have the best chance of surviving. And I always run 93 gas like the car recommends, which also would help, even though I might try throwing some E85 at some point, but that'll just drop my MPG. So overall, my review so far, after installing them, these are the best fucking spark plugs I've ever used. But at the same time, they're the only spark plugs I've ever put in a car. and this is the only time I've ever driven an IS. So, which is my own, obviously. So it's not the biggest benchmark, but it definitely feels like it added power. It does not feel, based on other reviews I've heard, where the highway thing is a common problem. It definitely feels like it added something there, above stock. Whether it's a huge difference, or maybe it's just even 5 horsepower, it still helps, and especially as with a naturally aspirated engine, which I'm going to try and do, is keep the NA engine, and just keep adding mods to it to see how much horsepower I can get out of this engine. Because with the self-tuning and everything like that, I think I can make this car a beast. And these spark plugs were a very major and important component in that. And I think just doing a service on your car where you have to replace spark plugs, I definitely recommend these. Even though they are really hard to find and they're really expensive. They're about $13 a spark plug. And if I got the original Iridium for this car, it would have cost me like 30 bucks for all of them. So that is something to keep in mind, but at the same time, it's not the most expensive spark plugs, and it's a really, really good setup. There's so much power, it's all there, and I love it. Not only that, but now my car actually would pass emissions. Because before it wouldn't, and I thought it was a dead cat, and it turned out it was spark plugs. I'll do a whole video elaborating on that. But before I go, I want to mention Santos Limited. There are fog lights on there. You can order yours at any time, really, and I will be there every step of the way letting you know what's happening, when I get the parts, everything like that. So when you order, you're not left in the dark. You'll know every little detail of your fog light build. Or if you want some custom headlight builds, you can just DM me on my Instagram, which should be linked down below, so you guys can check that out. And I want to mention, because I think I said I'd mention it in my other video, but I didn't, you want to use code YTFAM to get $50 off on fog lights, and also I will do $50 off if you DM me for headlight rebuilds, depending on how much it costs or anything like that. If it's something really simple, I may not take the $50 off, and I'll just give you the best price I can. But if it's a bigger build, I'll probably do the $50 off, because I can afford to on a bigger build. Oh, also, I almost forgot to mention too, there is the Santos Limited apparel. That is all linked down below on the Teespring site, so if you want to check that out, help support this channel, and help me do some insane builds, then 100% you should check that out. It's an easy way to help out our channel while also getting some really cool looking apparel. Now that's it for today. I will do a long-term review of these spark plugs, and I will do a few little other things in between, I think, just to test. Like I said, I will be doing a long-term review of these spark plugs. I may do a long-term review of the lowering springs now that I've had them on for almost a year, so you guys can see how it's been. I'm going to look for the year to the day of when I installed these lowering springs, so you guys know. 100%, this has been a really great experience, even though it is a pain in the ass to remove these spark plugs. Now I'm done ranting. Peace out and be legendary.
Stop till we're legend.